So my name is Nikki Kimball. I'm part of the education team at Just2easy. I'm one of the educational consultants. And you are here for using Just2easy for monitoring and feedback purposes. Now some session housekeeping. It is a 45-minute session, so one of our shorter webinars. You can ask questions via the chat. I've got my colleague Mary, who is in the background, who can answer the majority of your questions. Anything that she can't answer, I'm sure Mary will unmute and put me on the spot. I'm also going to be doing a Q&A session at the end of the training, so you can ask me any questions, and because it's such a small group, during that session you'll be able to unmute if you want to. The session is being recorded and will be uploaded to YouTube. Now, in terms of content for today's session, we are going to be looking at using Just2easy for monitoring and feedback. So as part of that, we're going to be looking at QR codes for sharing content, feedback via learning conversations through the pupil files area, J2 review for tracking progress, J2 stars, and I'll also be giving you some activity suggestions using J2E5, J2 PDF, J2 homework, J2 Webby and the resource library. So lots of content to get through today. Now, in terms of accessing Just2easy, it can be accessed via any device, anywhere. And depending on where you're joining us from, will dictate how you log in. So assuming that you are a C2K user from Northern Ireland, you can go to j2e.com, so that is our website, and there is an EA button there. You can click that and use your C2K credentials to log in. There is also, we can be found within My School area, within the apps, the view all, and then online learning tab is where you will find Just2easy. If you are joining us from any of our other managed services, so LGFL, Hub for our Welsh users, our Glow users will use the RM Unify button. And our Entrust or BGFL users will use the launch button and use all of your relevant credentials to log in. And then finally, if you are a manual school, you will have been given a school name, a username and a password. So those are all the different methods that you can use to log in. If you are unsure about how to log in, just contact your computing or your ICT lead and they'll be able to guide you in that. Now, the first thing I'm going to talk about, I didn't outline this in my sort of overview, is the setting up of teaching classes. So this can make setting differentiated pieces of work a lot easier for you and your students. So if you are a managed service, your classes will already be set up. Even if you're a manual school, then your classes should have been set up by your ICT lead. Okay, and we can't really change these. These are stipulated by your managed service. So these would be your registration classes, and I'm going to show you in J2 dashboard in a second. So these would be your standard classes of 30 that the children come into for registration time. What we have power over is being able to set up these smaller groups of students. So these generally are things like your table groups. Maybe you've got a digital leaders group. Maybe you've got some intervention groups that go out of class. You can set up these smaller groups so that you can set work for them. Okay, now there is a video on YouTube, so I'm going to go through this fairly quickly, but just bear that in mind. There is a reference video on YouTube. It's only a 2-minute video. It's quite easy to refer back to. So to set up teaching classes, we can go to J2 dashboard. So I'm going to go to my Launchpad. So when you log in, this is your Launchpad. And J2 dashboard is here at the bottom. Now this is an admin only tool, so it's only available to teachers, schools, pupils don't have access to this. And then we're going to go up here to the classes tab. And you'll see here, these are my green classes. These are the registration classes that I was talking about, your classes of sort of 30 students at a time. And these purple ones are my smaller teaching groups. So to add a new class, we're going to go up to the plus button here. Now, if you are under a managed service, I'm not. My account is set up as a manual account, which is why I'm given the two different options to set up my registration class or my teaching class. If you are a managed service like C2K, Glow, LGFL, or Entrust, you will just have this box that says class name. Okay, just know that you are setting up a teaching class at this point. Okay, and I'm going to add a digital leaders 2024 class, and then I'm going to hit OK, and that has added that. I've added that as the wrong one. Let's try that again. I'm going to change it to teaching classes and try again. There we go. And that has added that there as a purple teaching group. Now, where the person features, that is a group that you are involved in, that you are part of. You can set these up on people's behalf. So if you are the ICT lead, you can do this on people's behalf. And you'll see the number 1. So that's just showing that I've got one person in that group, and that being me. So to add more people, I can use this drop-down menu at the end of that row. And that's going to show me who is in that class. So it's just me at the moment. Now, if I hit the plus button, that is going to bring up a list of all the users within school. Now, I can click on any of these users and add them in one by one. And obviously that's going to take you a long time if you're adding 10 or 20 children into the group. So what I can do is I can hold down the control button and I can add multiple students. I could add additional teachers. So for example, let's find a teacher. I've got Grazio here. I can add them in. And when I'm done, I just click OK. And that has now added that list of 8 other users. I can delete any of those users, so maybe the groups have changed. Maybe a child's moved up to a different group. So I can click on that child and I can press this cross button here. I can add additional children. So I can click that button and add more again. And I can also rename that group. So for example, maybe next year I move that to Digital Leaders 2025. So I could just change the name of that class. And that is how we can set up teaching classes. And it will become a bit more evident a bit later when I can set work for my students. So that is how we can create smaller groups of children for within your registration classes, share that differentiated tasks. It allows easy access to work created by each teaching class. Now we're going to talk about pupil files now. So it's really important as a teacher that you're able to access all of your pupils' work. And we can do that through the pupil files area. We can leave feedback and we can also track progress through the pupil files using our J2 review area. So to access our pupil files from our Launchpad, you will have a tile that says pupils files. There is also a tab within your My Files. If I open up my My Files, which is your personal storage area, you will also see there is a pupils files area here along the left-hand side. So I'm going to click this button just to show you. And there you go. It leads to the same area. So it doesn't matter which way, it's personal preference. And you'll see at the moment all classes because I've chosen to view all classes. You can reduce this to just my classes. So that's going to show you the groups that you've set up, your registration class that you're involved in. And these are my smaller teaching classes that I have set up. I can click in my class 1. That's going to show me all the children in my registration class. I can go into any of these students. So let's have a look at Lottie, who is my demo pupil, and I can see all of Lottie's work here. So it's all in one place. I don't have to go sort of scratching around and trying to find different pieces of work. It's all in a nice long list and I can scroll through. It does store in reverse chronological order, so the most recent pieces of work will be at the top. And it will show every single piece of work that Lottie has created. You'll be given a timestamp, a file name, a thumbnail of that piece of work, who's created it, which class, and the size of that, and also the J2 review, which we're going to look at in a second. And you can see I can scroll through. If you have tracked anything against progression frameworks, that will showcase in this column here. So these are all my pieces of work that she's hit targets with. Now, first of all, Lottie's done this piece of work here. You can see she's done it this afternoon. So the first thing I can do is I can click on that piece of work and I can see it in full view. Okay, so I can see, I can make any changes to it. So I do have full editing permissions. I wouldn't want to really edit things. You'd probably want to give feedback so that Lottie could change it, but there is the option there if you did need to change anything. And that will open in a separate tab. So I can close that tab down. I can say, right, that's fantastic writing that she's done there. She's used some really nice words. So I want to offer Lottie some feedback. And as I hover over any of these pieces of work, you'll see a little speech bubble appears. So that is what we call our learning conversations. And this is a two-way learning conversation. So if I click on that speech bubble, it opens up a little dialog box and I can type a message to Lottie. So I could say, great use of adjectives, Lottie. Well done. I have given you a J2 star for your hard work, for example. And I hit enter and Lottie is going to get a notification that she's had a learning conversation. She's had a comment that she needs to look at. As I said, this is a two-way learning conversation. If you are using the parent portal at all, the parents will be able to see these learning conversations. They won't be able to comment in them. Okay, so just be aware that they will be visible to parents, but they aren't able to comment. Other things that we can do, we can offer a thumbs up. We can record some audio. So maybe Lottie is a younger student, maybe she's less literate, and maybe she will respond better to an audio piece of feedback. So you can record audio. So if I click that, that's going to bring up my audio recording option. We've also got the option to take photographs. So maybe Lottie's done some rough work where she's written out her draft and you want to keep that as evidence that's linked to this piece of work. So you could take a photograph of that piece of work. And you can also upload additional files. So maybe that's a success criteria or something that she needs to refer to. Now, just to give you Lottie's perspective, this is Lottie's account now. So she's logged in. If I refresh Lottie's page, you'll see on her My Files, she's got a number 15. That shows that she's got 15 learning conversations she needs to look at. She's a little bit lax on checking them. And when she opens up her My Files, you can see there's some red sort of speech bubbles. So those are the learning conversations that a teacher has commented. So you can scroll down and there are various ones that she needs to respond to. Lottie can click on that and she can type into that. So thanks, miss. And there we go. So it's a two-way learning conversation. Lottie could ask questions if she's stuck on a piece of work, for example, at home. She could ask questions or she can respond to questions. So if you've added some questions in there to check on her understanding, she can respond to those as well. So those are our learning conversations. Now, if that piece of work had hit some targets, for example, we can track the progress against certain frameworks. So if I click on this little star here, that is going to open up what we call J2 Review. So this is our progression tracking software. Now, because I'm a trainer, I've got various different frameworks loaded, but there are quite a few that will be appropriate for certain managed services. So we do have the SEER tasks. We have those both in English and Irish. Now, depending on whether you're an English speaking or an Irish speaking school, that will determine which one loads for you. So if you are an Irish speaking school, the Gaelic one should load automatically. Obviously, if it doesn't, let us know, but it should. If you are a Scottish school, we do have the Curriculum for Excellence loaded. And I believe the hub schools will have the digital competency framework that should automatically load. So it will pull your location information and it will showcase the appropriate framework for you. So I'm going to showcase the SEER tasks, the Northern Irish curriculum. And this will load the 3 different curricula. So we've got communication using ICT and using mathematics. Now you can use multiple curriculums. So we'll start with using ICT, and maybe Lottie's working at a level 2 today. So we could say she has met one of the E's. She's met express, evaluate, and exhibit, for example. So she's met those within that curriculum. But we could also say through communication, level 2, we could say her writing, she's talked about and planned and edited her work. And also she's made changes in relation to the agreed criteria. So she's completed these two as well as the using ICT curriculum. Now you'll also notice that there's some numbers here. When I click on that to say that she's met that criteria, there's some numbers. So that tells me how many other pieces of work she has met that criteria with. And I can click on that number, and that's going to show me the other pieces of work. That won't move. So we've got under the C sentence starter work that we've just looked at, but she's also met it with the aliens have arrived piece of work that she did last June. So I could say that she's still working towards that particular target. She hasn't quite met it. Obviously, if she was, showing 5, 6, 7 pieces of work, then I could say she's secure at that level. So that's really helpful to know where your students are in terms of meeting those particular targets. And then when you're done, you click the cross in the top right, and that will take you back to your pupils file. Now, the only problem with this is to show those targets, we just have to go back to the class and then open Lottie's file again. And there we go. We can see all of those targets that she has met. Now, mine are showing, because I'm using the SEER tasks, mine are showing both the English and the Gaelic versions. If you are an Irish speaking school, it will just show the Irish. If you're an English speaking school, it will just show the English. This is just because I'm a trainer that we've got both. Okay. So that is pupil files, how to offer learning conversations and feedback. Using that for making improvements for the work and suggested by teacher feedback, tracking the students' work, viewing all content, and also tracking progress. Now, the other thing I should show you, if I go back to my class view, a lot of teachers say it's annoying having to go into each child's folder to have a look at what pieces of work they are creating. So there is a way around it, and I am just going to load up my files again. Let's go to pupil files. There we go. So I'm in my class 1. What I can do at this point, instead of going into each child's folder, I can tick this box that says list files. And what that will do is it will show me all of my pupils' content as it comes in. So as I scroll down the list, I've got Lottie. I've also got any content that parents have uploaded. If you are using the parent portal, you'll be able to see those. But as I scroll down, you can see David's uploaded, Bobby's uploaded, Olivia, Oliver. So I can see all of my students' work in one space. So I think that's quite an important thing to point out. And that is the option for list files. So you don't have to go into each folder. The other thing that we can do, I'm just going to untick my list files, is you can go into these smaller groups of students, and that will show you again all of those students' work and their files. So these might not be children in your registration class. Again, we could tick list files, or we could go into each individual child's folder. Okay, and there we go. Some lovely work. Let's move forwards. Okay, creating QR code links to pupil evidence. This sounds complicated, but it's not. It's very, very easy, very, very useful. What we can do, and this is within pupil files and my files, is we can generate QR codes to pieces of work. So for example, maybe you need some printed evidence for workbooks. Maybe you need it for your display board. And maybe the children have created an animation as part of their science lesson. They've done the water cycle in JIT Animate. Obviously, if we print off an animation, that's not going to work. It's going to lose all of its interactivity, and it's not a printable format. And this is where this will become really useful. Okay. So let's close some of these tabs down. Let's do it from the start. So to do this, and this can be done for your work or for pupils' work, I'm going to open up the pupil files. I'm going to open up Lottie again. And this piece of work, I might want this for her literacy book. Now, if I was to print this out, A, it wouldn't print very well because of all the colours, and B, it's going to cost you a lot of money because of all the colours. So what we can do instead, if I hover over that piece of work, we've got, and I'm going to zoom in just so you can see, this green circle with the little white eye. So I'm going to click on that, and that's going to give us our different options. And you'll notice here we've got QR code. So that's what we're going to click on. And that is automatically going to generate this QR code for us. So this is printable. I can download it and then print it. Now, if I was to leave this as it is at the moment, if someone was to scan this with a camera on their phone, on their tablet, on their Chromebook, anything that's got a phone, anything that's got a camera can be used to scan this. It would need a school Just2easy account to view this. Okay, so just bear that in mind. If you're safe in the knowledge that there is no data being shared in this file, so for example, there's no pupil names, there's no pupil images in this particular file, you can choose to tick this box that says publish. Now, this won't publish it anywhere. What this will do, and we do need to rename this, keep thinking that, this removes that requirement to have a Just2easy account to view this particular piece of work. So if I tick that publish button and I open my phone, so the camera on my phone, so here we go. All I have to do is hover over that particular QR code and click the link, and that then, she says, it's very slow, will give me the option to view that particular piece of work. So there is that piece of written work ready to view. So it's really useful. I could print that off, put that in their literacy book or their science book, or whichever lesson they've created this particular document in. Okay, so that is creating a QR code from a piece of work. So using that green eye button, click QR code, and then you can use that publish button if you want the work to be accessed without a Just2easy sign in. So that's great, maybe if you're creating this kind of content for, dare I say, inspectors who may or may not be visiting school, they can then scan that and you don't have to provide them with a Just2easy account. You're not sort of compromising any usernames and passwords. So that is an option. Now, showcasing best pieces of work. So we have a tool called J2Webby, which is very badly named because it's actually your class blog site, and it often gets confused with J2Bloggy. So J2Webby is your class blog site. And each class within school will have a blog site within J2Webby. So this allows pupils to push or submit work to the class blog. Any work that is pushed for publication into the class blog has to be authorised by a teacher first. So you retain that autonomy. Work that is published can be viewed by parents using the parent portal. So just bear that in mind if you are using the parent portal, that is something that is visible. But it does offer your students an authentic audience for their writing. So it moves the audience beyond your classroom walls. So it does provide a little bit of motivation for your students when they are creating their content. So I'm going to start this process from my pupil account. Okay, so for example, Lottie's created that lovely piece of writing. So she goes into her My Files, she opens up this lovely piece of writing. She's very proud of it. What she can do is she can click on this little globe button, and this globe button will feature in the majority of our tools. So your children can push lots and lots of different types of content. So for example, we've got animation, we've got the publish button, paint, we've got the publish button. And she can press that and it will give a little pop-up warning box saying that your teacher has to approve it. So we'll click OK, and then they just kind of have to wait a little bit. So as a teacher, I'm going to go back to my teacher launchpad, and I'm just going to refresh my page. And here on my moderate button, this isn't work that's waiting for moderation. This is blog posts that are waiting for moderation. So if I click on the moderate tab, and you'll see here is this piece of work. I've got the option to approve or reject it straight away. Or if I want to know a little bit more, maybe I want to double check some of this text in here, I can click on this file, and that is going to open that up for you. So I can see that file in full view. I can check if there's any sort of infringements on data protection. So, checking there's no children's pictures on there that don't have permissions for publication. There's no pupil full names on there, that kind of thing. And when I'm happy with it, all I have to do is just click that approve button and click apply. Now, if it isn't to the correct standard, or it does have the data infringement, you can reject that submission. It won't delete that file. All it will do is it remove that file moderation, so remove that submission. Okay, so I'm going to click approve and click apply, and there we go. So now if I close this down, if I go to my J2Webby, which is here, it will open up into the home page. If I hover over my blogs category, you'll see there are my classes here. So class 1 is my class. You'll also notice that there's a number of classes missing. So class 3 doesn't have a website, and class 6. Now, the blog sites are generated when pupils push content. So if your class isn't showing in your blog list, that will be why. So you just need to get a pupil to log in and just click that publish button on, whatever it is, on just a blank file if you wanted to, and that will auto generate that particular class blog. So to show you what it looks like, I'm going to click in class 1. And I'm not sure why Lottie's content isn't showing. Let's see if she's in a different class. Gotta love a live demo. Let me try the moderate tab. Let's go class 1. And under the sea. Publish. There we go. Let's try that. There we go. So let me try that again. So with the moderate tab, clearly that approval wasn't enough. So we need to go into the blog, and this will show the most recent submissions will be at the bottom, which is a little confusing. What we can do is when we hover over these, we can preview those particular pieces of work. So this is a sentence structure by Sophie. So she hasn't done anything on that. So we could actually bin that submission from Sophie. If we like it, we can hit publish, which is what I did with Lottie's piece of work. So once it is published, if we go to class 1, there is Lottie's piece of work showcasing in J2Webby. So we can view that post in a full screen. If she has recorded anything, it will play. And J2 Write is a fantastic tool in that you can record some audio at the top, so some linked audio, and that's really good if you are using any kind of EAL. If maybe you're using some Gaelic in school, you can get the students to record their voices as well as what's written on the screen, so that is an option as well. Now, as a teacher, I can leave a comment. Again, pupils can leave comments, but they have to be moderated by teachers. So you always have that safety net with J2Webby that anything that's added does have to be approved by a teacher before it is published. Okay, I'm going to close some of these windows down. So that is J2Webby. So submitting best pieces of work. So it is a digital display board. Great way for showcasing those best pieces of work. You as a teacher have to moderate any submissions using that moderate button, and you have to click into the class blog and approve it and publish it. Work can be viewed by parents if using the parent portal, so just bear that in mind. And it does offer an authentic audience for your pupils' work. Now, using J2PDF for assessment purposes. So J2PDF is a fantastic tool. It's something that we brought in during the pandemic because a lot of our teachers were using PDFs that traditionally as a teacher, I mean, I don't know about you, but I always had a folder full of PDFs that I would print out and the students would use those as worksheets. Now, the problem during the pandemic was how we would get the worksheets to the parents and to the pupils to use at home, and that's where J2PDF was born. So what we can do is we can add existing PDFs as worksheets. So the problem with a PDF, when we add it into our My Files, it is an uneditable file format. So I'm going to show you how we can make it editable. So we can create editable PDFs. We can add in things like media, text, word lists if we need to, and we can save and share with students to complete. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I'm going to go to my Launchpad. I'm going to go to My Files, and I have got a PDF ready to go. So this is a SATS practice paper for maths. So this might be in my year 6s or my P7s. I might have an assessment that I want them to complete and I want them to do it on their devices. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag, this is a PDF, I'm going to drag this onto this drop box here and let go, and that is going to upload that particular maths PDF. Now if I open this as it is just a view only file. Okay, so my students can't do anything with this, they can't write on it. It is just a flat format. Okay. So what we're going to do once we've added it into our My Files is we're going to open up J2PDF off our Launchpad, which is here. And then it's going to ask us to choose a PDF or drop one here. So if you didn't want to do that previous step, you can, if you want to, just drag this PDF onto this drop box and that will do the hard work for you. But because we've already loaded it into our My Files, we can click where it says choose a PDF file. We can click where it says open PDF. I'm not doing very well today. Open PDF, and there you can see there's my PDF. And I can scroll down any of the ones with PDF and in red. Those are PDFs that we can use. So I'm going to click on my SATS paper and click add. And that is going to stitch every one of those pages onto a different page. So this is kind of using J2E5, and it has the full functionality of J2E5. But what it's done, it's very cleverly stitched those pieces of paper onto the background and locked them in place, so you can't move them. Okay. So we as a teacher could add in some writing. So we could say, please complete this paper. Okay. You've also got things like word lists. So using a maths PDF wasn't particularly intelligent, was it? But if you imagine this was a writing assessment, you could add in, we've got solar system word lists, we've got Titanic word lists. You can create your own, so we could go new. So we might want to add some algebra terms in there, or some spellings that we know that they're using. Then when you're happy with your word list, we can click that and that will add that to the bottom of this particular document. So you've got those accessibility tools built in as well. If you've added a word list and you want to get rid of it, just press that cross and that will take that away. We can scroll through the pages. And this is fully editable, so we can click anywhere and start typing. So for my students to access this and for them to have a go, The first thing I need to do is to save this document. So I'm going to have maths test spring 1, for example, and I'm going to click save. Now, because this is a 20-page document, has to save each page individually. So this process can take a little while, depending on how long your PDF is. And I need to start making, I need to start using smaller PDFs when I do this demonstration. There we go. So that is saved. So for my students to access this, I need to share it with them. So that is saved into my files. For my students to access it, I need to share it. Now within J2PDF, it's quite nice because we do have the sharing function here. So we can click up here where these two people are. We want to share it as a worksheet. So we want each of them to have a copy of this. And I'm just going to zoom in so you can see. I have this drop down menu here, so I can click here. That's going to show me all of my classes, so I could share with the whole school if I wanted to. I can share with my class. So let's share with my class to start with. If I use my drop down menu, I've also got the option for teaching classes. So this is why this is quite an important thing that you set up teaching classes if you want to. So I could set that for just my maths group 1. So maybe they're the only ones that are working at this level at the moment, and I just want them having a go. Or I can set for individual users. So I could set that, for an individual pupil to have a go. Or all classes. Now, if you are a C2K school, it's likely that my class will be staff. So just bear that in mind. It's just the way that C2K has set their system up. But your class will be listed in all classes. And there we go. So how do my students access that content? So we'll open up Lottie's file again. And Lottie will access that through the shared files area, which is here. So she clicks in shared files. Then all she needs to do is tick this box that says list files. And there is that maths test. So she can open that up. Because I saved it on page 3, it's going to open up in page 3, but she can go back to page 1 and she can add things like her name. So if she goes to edit, let's add Lottie. Let's go back to page 3 and then she can start outlining. So 7, 8, 9, and then we can have, so we'll do our column addition and then we can click underneath 100. Let's just move that across so it is actually in a column. Equals, and we'll have, testing my maths now, 9, 8, 8. So the answer is 8, 8, 9, and she's shown her working out there. And then when she's done, she clicks save, and that will save her version into her My Files area. So as a teacher, you have access to that. So I'm just going to open up my pupil files again. Go into our class. We'll click on Lottie's folder, and there is that maths quiz test that she's just completed. So I can click in that. I can see she's added her name, and I can see that she's made a good start at that question number 1. And if she needs any feedback, if she does need feedback, you can offer that actually on the file itself. So you can start doing some written feedback within the files. It might be that you want to say, check your working out or check your spellings. And then you can save that, and that will save within that copy in her My Files. Okay. So that is creating your own assessments using J2PDF. Now we're going to talk about J2 Stars. So this is a great pupil reward system. It allows you to award points, offer feedback, opportunity for social, emotional, mental health check-ins, and you can also create certificates. So this is within J2 Stars. We have our different classes. We've also got our teaching classes. So, if you are maybe doing an intervention group and you're working just with the maths group 1, you can open that up, and we've just got those pupils there. Now I'm going to work with class 1. So I've got all my pupils in class 1, and I can click on any of these pupils. And when I click on that pupil, I've got the option to award any of these particular skills. So I could say she's working really hard. Well done. That's going to give her a point. The other thing that I can do is I can click on Lottie, and I've got the option to tick this box that says leave a comment. So I could say great writing today. Okay, because we've looked at that writing document she did earlier, and we can add that feedback, and she's going to receive that feedback. The other thing we can do is we can offer whole class awards. So maybe they've all been joining in, and I could say great work class, and add that feedback, and they've all received that particular star. The other thing that we can do, if I click on whole class at the bottom, you've got this option to edit skills. Now this allows you to create a whole new skill. So some of these might be more appropriate than others. It might be that you're working on a skill as a class. My background's SEND, so for me, my students were working on things like sitting on their carpet spot, or spending 5 minutes on a task. So you can specify these skills as you want. So let's say sitting on, there we go, sitting on my carpet spot. You can click on the icon and you can choose something to go with it. You can stipulate the number of points and whether that's positive or negative, and we click save. So that now, if I scroll down to the bottom, has added as a skill. So when I go out, if I scroll down to the bottom, I can click on that. Let's untick that. And that now has awarded everyone a point for sitting on their carpet spot. Now, if I want to, I've got the option to view user. So I hover over those users and view user, and I can create custom certificates and also certificates for certain pieces of work. So I can create, here we go, a certificate for Lottie. So I could, this shows her total stars, but I can show just the stars that were awarded for this particular activity, and that is her great writing that she's done. So you can print those out. You've also got the create custom certificate, so you can start adding text in. So maybe you want to stipulate exactly why she had that certificate. So that is J2 stars. So a great way of awarding points for your students. Now your students can change their avatars as well. They can do that within their J2 stars. And that's how we've kind of linked it back into social, emotional, mental health, because you could have them doing that as they come in the morning, they grab a device and they create their avatar, and then it allows you to have a look, and they create their avatar linked to how they're feeling. So Richard's not feeling great and Lee's not feeling great, so I might need to check in with those today. So that's a nice little side activity for you. Now I have pretty much run out of time, but these two games-based learning tools are fantastic for assessing spellings and times tables and math skills. So have a look at these. There is a video on YouTube about how to create your own spelling list. In fact, there's a few videos on how to create your own spelling lists. And as a teacher, you have access to the data. So using, I'm going to zoom in so you can see this little chart button here. If you are a curriculum lead, that will be able to show you the data if children are playing these games, and it will show you the data for the entire school. So you can see where there are potentially some gaps in knowledge and understanding. If you're setting spelling lists, have a look at that. So as I said, there is a video on YouTube. Now, a quick mention about library resources. We have a couple of self-review templates. These are available on the library. So this is a termly target one. We've got self-reflection activities, self-assessment. We've got some quick writes, 2 stars and a wish, self-evaluation. We've got lots of things there. When you find something that you like, so for example, this, let's have a reflect on what we've done this year. For your students to access it, you need to share it with them. So we click share, and we can share that with our class, and they will access that through the library. Okay, so they need to click on the library and that resource will be there. You can also set those as homework if you wanted to. So those are 2 options for you, well, a number of different options. And the only other thing that we've got on there are the KWL templates. So these are great for assessing both before and after a particular topic. So you want to know what they want to know prior to the topic, and then what they have learned. So it's great for that all-round reflection, and those are available by searching for KWL in the library, and we've got a variety to choose from. We've also got a blank template there, so you can create your own. And there we go. Right, just a few little things before we finish. We are on, I need to change that. We are on X and Facebook, so please give us a like and a follow. Those are our handles. Those are the sort of things you need to search for. And we're also on YouTube, so all of our webinars are recorded and available on YouTube, so Just2easy TV. Give us a subscribe and you will get notifications. We also run our live lessons through YouTube. We've done one today on J2 Code logo, so I teach your class for you. So the great way of upskilling without having to be out of class. So, Mary, have we had any questions?
Nope, none at all.
No? Brilliant. If anybody's got any questions, feel free to type them in the chat. If not, thank you ever so much for attending. We hope you've enjoyed this webinar, and we hope to see you for more soon. I'm just going to wait a couple of seconds to see if there's been any questions. Nope, not by the looks of it. You're very welcome. Thank you for the feedback. Okay, I am going to stop sharing now, and I'm going to stop the recording. So thank you very much for attending, and we hope to see you again soon.